Please welcome to the show my very special guest, Dr. Bruce Lipton, who is joining us via Skype from New Zealand. Welcome to the show, Bruce.
KG, thank you so much, and I just want to thank you for this opportunity to talk to your wonderful audience about some new and exciting ideas.
I am thrilled to have you with us. Let's talk first a little bit about your new book, Spontaneous Evolution, Our Positive Future and a Way to Get There from Here. What is spontaneous evolution?
We've held a scientific belief for a long time that evolution was a very slow, gradual process that takes place over millions and millions of years. And this is a conventional Darwinian belief. But over the last 20 or 30 years, science has recognized that evolution actually takes jumps, that things seem to be going along at some steady state, and all of a sudden there's some upheaval, and then life starts all over again. So we refer to these as mass extinctions, that 5 times in the history of the planet, life essentially just got wiped out by some cataclysmic event, and then evolution started right up, rapid evolution. So there was a jump. So basically said, our belief that evolution is a long, slow process really gives way to an understanding that the jumps are occurring and that we are in the process of such a jump right now. So meaning that there's an evolutionary change just in front of our face, that we're just tasting it, and there's going to be a rapid jump, and there'll be a new expression of evolution. And this is what's happening on the planet right now, that life, and especially human civilization, is on the edge of a radical change in how we live our lives. And interestingly enough, it's a necessary change for a simple reason. As I said, there were 5 previous examples of mass extinctions, and they were attributed to things such as comets or asteroids upsetting the environment on the planet. And science has recognized that we are now this is important, deep into the 6th mass extinction of life, that species are disappearing at rates never observed before, that it's just a rapid alteration of the environment is going on. But what's very important to this is that the extinction that we're facing right now is really due to things closer to home, because science has recognized that human behavior is contributing to the undermining of the environment and the biosphere, and it's precipitating our own extinction. So all of a sudden it says, well, wait a minute, if human behavior is doing then, if we change behavior, then we can change the planet. And the answer is absolutely. And so as we're facing all these crises, the crises are causing us to reconsider, as a mass population, to reconsider, what are we doing? Because whatever it is we're doing, it's leading to this right now.
Yes. Well, your book subtitle mentions humanity's positive future. Where is the evidence for this, Bruce?
Well, the evidence is the reality that evolution is fractal in its nature, and that's meaning that fractal means geometry, a certain type of geometry. When most of us went to school, we learned geometry, where we drew cubes or spheres or cones on graph paper, and saw how you put objects into space. That's geometry. Well, it turns out that the geometry we learned in school is not actually the geometry of nature, how nature works. Nature uses a different geometry. It's called fractal geometry, and it's actually a very simple geometry, but there's a characteristic to it that's most amazing. And the characteristic is this, is that the geometric structures at one level of the organization is very similar to the geometric structures at any other level of the organization. So at the microscopic level, the geometric structures there are very similar to the geometric structures at the macroscopic level. The point about fractals, in a ancient way, and here's the truth. This is the truth of a fractal geometry: as above, so below. And basically that means that if you can see the pattern at any one level, you can then infer the pattern at other levels. And the pattern that we're coming out of right now is a pattern of evolution that was actually played out here once before in the evolution of animals. The pattern was we went from fish, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. And mammals are the nurturers. Well, human civilization is playing a pattern of that. And we've been through the fish phase, which was mariculture, early civilizations on the planet. And then we went through amphibian phase, which was agriculture, because amphibians took the water onto the land, and that's where we started growing food on the land instead of living at the sea. And then we went into reptiles, and reptiles were the machine age and the industrial age, because reptiles were like machine animals. I mean, they even talk about dinosaurs as killing machines. So basically, the reptilian phase is the one we're in right now. It's the one that's actually fueled by, they call the blood of the dinosaur, oil. So we're actually living in a civilization that is using this oil. And so the significance is that that we're KG.
Yes.
Oh, I just want to. The sound shifted, and I was thinking there was a switch between New Zealand and the States, but we're still there.
Yes, you're doing great.
But what's basically happening is this: the industrial world started out as mom and pop little shops, and they grew into the dinosaurs of the industrial world called corporations. And the corporations now are just like the dinosaurs. They're threatening the globe in the process of just destroying environments as well. And here's the interesting part, that the dinosaur phase, the industrial age, gave rise to aviation. The bird phase, Wilbur and Orville Wright took off, and aviation changed the entire planet and how we communicate and how we see the world and all that, but it led to landing on the moon in 1969. And in 1969, there was an evolutionary shift that we didn't see because we didn't understand at the time, but here's what it was. We were in the industrial age. We introduced the bird phase. Remember, we go from reptiles, birds, and mammals. The industrial age gave rise to the birds, the aviation age, which took us to the moon, and with the perspective that birds have because they fly above things, we saw ourselves as a planet suspended in the darkness of space in 1969. We all saw the picture, came back from space. There we are, that little blue-green thing sitting in the blackness of it all. And the people in 1969, it struck a major psychological chord in civilization because we saw the Earth for what it was, a small, fragile structure, and we're suspended in all this blackness. And what it did is it induced in 1969, the age of the hippies and all that, an understanding of we taking care of the planet, taking care of our water, taking care of our air, taking care of our children. Taking care was part of that whole hippie generation. Let's take care of everything. Well, it's interesting because taking care is called nurturing. And nurturing, the characteristic of mammals. Nurturers are mammals. So in 1969, a new civilization started to be seeded, the mammals, the nurturers, the ones that will take care and bring the garden back, in a sense, take care of each other, brings the earth back. And yet, here's the interesting story. In the evolution of reptiles, birds, and mammals, there were dinosaurs here when the early mammals were here. The early mammals were the soft, furry little animals. They were the sort of like the meek. And the dinosaurs, Tyrannosaurus rex, they were all here at the same time. But what happened? An evolutionary upheaval occurred. And the dinosaur population crashed, was not sustainable. And the mammals took over the earth. The meek took over the earth. And where are we today? Well, the big economic collapse that's going on is an economic collapse that was generated by the corporations, the dinosaurs that have been feeding off of all this, and they're collapsing. And then everybody's like, oh, that means the end of our world. And I'm going, no. It's the breaking down of an old way of living where corporations live for me only. Corporations' only drive is to make money and grow, but their awareness is very limited. So the collapse of the situation right now is very exciting because it is part of an evolutionary step. And while we have been focusing on the fear, that's the problem, because basically what we're moving to is something far greater and sustainable, because the way we're living right now, science has already said, hey, the way you're going right now, you're going extinct. Here's the data. And there's an old quote from Einstein. I just love it. It goes, you cannot solve the problems with the same thinking that created them. And the relevance about that is the problems that we are facing in humanity today is the way we have culturally been programmed to live on the planet, and we have just been destroying the planet, destroying ourselves. It's actually like an autoimmune disease. We're killing ourselves, and the relevance is you can't solve the problems with the thinking that created it. And guess what?